Have you ever read the ingredients on your dog's treats? Many of them are filled with sugar, preservatives, artificial colors that only the humans care about. And a lot of them have a term called natural flavors, whatever that means. Ground up chicken beets, shredded newspapers, who knows? Why not feed your dog healthy treats that they might enjoy? A lot of dogs enjoy sweet potatoes. I've given my dog cooked sweet potatoes and just raw sweet potatoes to chew on. My dogs are also crazy about chickpeas. And as you can see, they come in great bite-sized morsels for training. Just make sure that if you purchase canned that you check the ingredients and get the ones that have no added ingredients, especially no salt or preservatives. Even better than the canned is to buy the dried chickpeas and cook them yourself. But of course, those cost a lot more. And a lot of dogs, and I've seen cats as well, that are just crazy about pumpkin. And it's full of fiber, great for their anal glands. And once again, make sure that you check the label. Don't get the pumpkin that has the added sugar. Get the pumpkin that only has one ingredient on the can. Now, of course, if you're out and about, the chickpeas, the pumpkin, the cooked sweet potato can get kind of messy. So I buy my dog these single ingredient treats, like this chicken, freeze-dried chicken with only one ingredient, just chicken breast. And they are crazy about this freeze-dried ocean-caught whitefish, and that's the only ingredient. Most dogs love fish, but if you have an Arctic breed like a Husky or a Chow or an Akita, they're going to love you for these fish treats. Of course, the problem with these are that they're extremely expensive. And because they're freeze-dried, I'm often left with a lot of powder at the bottom of the bag and the bottom of my treat pouches. And I don't want to throw this away because, like I said, this is expensive and that is good fish that they can eat. So today I'm going to attempt to make some fish cookies. I've made fish sickles in the past, which the dogs love, but it's cold now, so I think fish cookies might be in order. Now you can put whatever your pet might like in the fish cookies, just make sure they're all good ingredients. For today, I'm going to experiment with a sweet potato that I just microwaved. It takes about 5 minutes, maybe 6 for a small sweet potato. Now you can cook these in the oven, and actually an oven-baked sweet potato tastes a lot better, but it takes at least a good 2 hours to cook one. So I'm going to put a sweet potato in it, and I'm going to put some pumpkin in it along with the dried fish. I could mash up some chickpeas as well. I'm going to leave those out at this time. And I'm going to add a little bit of flour. This is whole grain organic brown rice flour. I suggest either rice flour, quinoa flour, or oat flour, or a combination of those. I advise against wheat flour because a lot of dogs have sensitivities to wheat. So you'll need these ingredients. You'll need a mixing bowl and a mixing spoon. And let's see what happens. Okay, I've added the sweet potato and most of a can of pumpkin. As soon as I opened the can of pumpkin, my 4 dogs came running, so I had to share some with them. And I'm just mixing it in. You could add some oil. I'm thinking that the fish might have enough oil in it for it to cook sufficiently, so I'm going to do without. I might need to add a little bit of water because since it looks like I have more powder than I do vegetables now. Or I could go ahead and add in a couple of chickpeas to soften it up some, or to make it a little more gooey. I haven't even added the rice flour yet. And remember, you always want to check with your vet before trying anything new with your pet. And you don't want to overfeed your pet. If you're going to give them a lot of these treats, then of course you'll want to reduce their regular meal. And if you have a pet that easily gets an upset tummy, you want to be careful with that as well. Well, I have the sweet potato, the pumpkin, and the fish all mixed up. I haven't even added flour yet. It's a pretty good consistency now, but once I add the flour, it's probably going to be too dry and flaky, so I'm going to add one more can of pumpkin. Something to think about before you cook all of this, you could use this to disguise peels, just like peanut butter. Once again, with peanut butter, the kind you normally buy from the grocery store is loaded with sugar and extra non-essential oil. I would suggest getting the peanut butter from the health food store that only has peanuts, or grinding your own. I've taken a little bit of this and ground it into a ball. So I might try to cook some of these without the flour, just see how they come out. This is Matt. And as you can see, he loved it. Now I haven't cooked it yet. This is still just the wet ball. This is Murphy. And Murphy likes it. Matt is begging for more. This is Puddin'. She's begging for one. I've added the extra can of pumpkin, so it's a little softer consistency now. And I'm going to add a little bit of rice flour to this. And I set some aside without the flour to see how this cooks up as well. Another ingredient I forgot to mention is flaxseed. Check with your vet, but normally this is very good for humans and dogs. Has lots of nutrients and lots of flour. Very good if your dog might be constipated. Since my doggies poop all the time, I'm going to leave out the flaxseed, especially since the pumpkin is full of fiber. And the sweet potato. Okay, the ones at the top here are the ones that I set aside to use without flour. And the larger ones here have rice flour. Now, if you're going to be giving these away as gifts to your human friends for their pets, you can put them in cute shapes if you like. A cookie cutter can come in handy, or you can shape them yourself. As I shaped this milk bone size one, I noticed it was a little hard because the rice flour was a little coarse. So in order to make the human shaped cookie, I added some oat flour, which was softer. And here's my attempt at making a cat. If you're making some for Mojo, maybe you want to make some the shape of a squirrel. So I've preheated my oven. Oh, by the way, I greased this aluminum foil. You could use parchment paper without using any grease. I actually use olive oil. I've already preheated my oven to 350. I'm gonna set my timer for 15 minutes and see what they look like at that time. Well, I had my cookies in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350, then the power went out for about 45 minutes. And I left the cookies in a warm oven, and when the power came back on, I cooked them for another 15 minutes at 350. So I might have overcooked them just a little bit. As you can see, the ones that didn't have flour are almost burnt. That small one actually did burn. And probably because of the extremely slow cooking, my bone broke in half on its own. But the ones that had the rice flour, they're a good cookie-like or cracker-like consistency. The ones that had no flour at all, they came out pretty good. They're nice and bite-sized and easily portable, but they did stick to, some of them stuck to the aluminum foil just a little bit, as you can see. The other ones didn't stick at all. And our gingerbread man had rice flour and oat flour. He came out to a good consistency and didn't stick. And here's the cat that also had rice flour and oat flour. And it is sticking just a little bit on the edges, but it seems to have stayed intact. Now, if you cook way too many that you can use at one time, I recommend freezing them. You don't want the food to go rank, or once again, you can give them to friends. You can donate them to a shelter or someone in need.